Welcome to Inform TV. I'm Alan Repke, Alexandria, Minnesota. Today we're going to do a follow-up on the amendments that will be on the ballot for Minnesota voters in the 2012 election. We're also going to look at some issues we covered last week, talking about the voter ID that I should have up on my website, informtv.com, that you can pass on to your friends and the organizations you support that want to see that we do have the voter ID passed. I am a strong supporter of that. I hope you, my listeners, are as well, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or Independent. That program was an incredible piece as far as supporting why we need voter ID. And it's not discrimination to ask it. It's sound election policy. And at the same time, I want to touch on the marriage amendment that's also going to be on the ballot. I strongly support seeing that we have a marriage amendment that marriage is between a man and a woman. I want to address that shortly. Yet at the same time, I want, in the waning days, that we get some pressure on our Republican legislators to see that they also put on there modernizing Minnesota's government by going to one body like Nebraska has had for years, and put that on the amendment on the ballot as well for this fall, that we modernize our government. We don't have this chaos that's been going on for the last few years where our governors dictate policy rather than our legislative leaders create and pass sound policy that our governor implements, administers. Yet at the same time, when we look at these issues, once again, the Vikings issue is in the news. And I encourage you to go down the line, and an old tape that we have there in the bottom, I think you got to click on previous programs. We got a lot of them listed there because the local community TV channel here, Kevin, was kind enough to put the program on public TV here, or on community TV, about the voter ID deal. And then because the Viking Stadium basically died, at least for a moment, in the House, put my views on that, where I said, let's just sell it to the players union and put a predator in there. But at the same time, I've talked here lately, if we're not going to do that, let's just buy the team and set it up with Indian gaming and racehorse gaming, not more gaming in the communities, and let gaming buy the team. Forbes magazine says the teams are worth about $850 million. Basically, instead of allow what we've seen in the news this week, how the NFL is threatening to take the Minnesota Vikings away. If we're going to have a sound government that responds and represents the people, how are we letting NFL billionaires and millionaire players push the state of Minnesota around? Let's just buy the team like Green Bay did. Own the team. We've already got 2 stadiums that work fine, or in the future we build a new one, fine and dandy. Or at the other discussion, all of a sudden the Hennepin County Commissioners that gave us the new Twin Stadium, unfortunately without a retractable roof, but now they've got a proposal, and those people are not somebody we should ignore. I think the Hennepin County Commissioners are some incredibly smart people that get an incredibly good wage, and that's part of what I want to do in our state capital. Let's get a few good men and women there that we pay well and lead. And I think we need to pass the message on to our governor and our legislatures. Let's seriously look, if we're not going to just plain buy the team or give the Metrodome to the NFL Players Union, let's sit down and with these commissioners from Hennepin County, and whether we build it on some Star Tribune land in the vicinity of the old Metrodome and stave that for the Minnesota Gophers to play in, as well as the St. Paul Saints. I mean, they're talking a $50 million bond now all of a sudden. The Metrodome only cost $60 million to build. It's in perfect shape. It's got a great roof. You can play football in there, baseball, whatever you want. Let's not knock that thing down if at all possible. Let's go in that farmer market site that the Hennepin County Commissioners, or let's eminent domain some of that Star Tribune land in downtown area and put it there. But also, what I want you to think about when we're talking these issues is the marriage amendment and modernizing our government. One of the things that cements in my mind, and should in yours as well, as far as why we need to modernize Minnesota government, our legislature couldn't even make the simple decision, at least research things first before they even brought it up, to the fishing opener. Now all of a sudden, front page headlines in the Echo Press, a foreign-owned newspaper, I call them, North Dakota Forum Communications, that is strictly there for money and profit, in my view at least, and power. Our legislative leaders were traveling northern Minnesota to get everybody's opinion on the fishing opener, rather than saying, well, it's warmed up. We decided to move it forward for 1 year and see how that played out, and rather they're caving into the governor with his fishing opener in Waconia, where he can maybe be on the front page of the Time magazine, or at least it's a great location to have a Democratic rally at Waconia for all his political friends that wouldn't even dare touch a fish. But very disgusting to see that we have leadership that was traveling northern Minnesota instead of looking at what we can do in northern Minnesota to get that cheap crude from the Bakken down into the refineries that serve the citizens of Minnesota. Very disgusting. But at the same time, the fishing opener, now when you come to Alexandria, whether you stop like I do, buy bait at two different places, the Scenic Station in town or Christofferson Bait here, I want you to stop and get some gas at the Scenic Station here in Alexandria, or just pull off the freeway if you're heading to Fargo, because I've still got that piece of pipeline in the Scenic Station there. You can get minnows there, you can get gas. It's only about a mile north of the freeway on 2729, heading right into downtown Alexandria. Stop and look at that pipe at the Scenic Station, fill your car up with gas, get those minnows there, and then go on to see what Christofferson Bait has to offer. But look at that piece of pipeline. We need to be actively involved in this pipeline process, in this energy process. As I look at what's going on in news, we were told we're the biggest user of crude oil in the world, biggest user of energy, and now all of a sudden, what are we finding? A few weeks ago, and I encourage you to go to informtv.com and look at our energy program there, that's a few programs down, how I was telling my audience how they're shipping crude oil right by Minneapolis, going through a pipeline starting at Clearbrook, Minnesota, and pumping it all the way to the East Coast or back into Montreal or Toronto, and not stopping here to help Minnesotans when we're right in the middle of the Bakken oil patch, or right handy with it. And we got legislative leaders traveling an area where they should be studying the pipeline. Instead, they're spend a week or more trying to figure out whether they should move the fishing opener up one day. That's why we need to modernize Minnesota's legislature. Now, unfortunately, at the same time, in last week's program, you had where I was bringing up a discussion with our county leaders here, and the same thing goes on in your county there in Rochester or Mankato, of my audience across the state that's listening to this. that trying to show that public officials are public employees, just like in Wisconsin, in my view, and based on the numbers of incredible salaries. Now, unfortunately, that I said the average county worker in Douglas County, I think it's about $25.50 an hour. If you take all their hours, I referenced county again when I meant they have a wage base that's about twice what the wage base is in Alexandria here. Most of the people that are working industrial jobs here, service jobs, it's a $10, $12 an hour town. And all of a sudden we've got county workers that are getting twice what these taxpayers are paying. I mean, that needs to be talked about. And that's why I went to the meeting. But unfortunately, we had in the paper here, the video camera interrupts county meeting. In other words, what? The local forum newspaper is referring to this. The county commissioner meeting on Tuesday, April 10th was fairly routine. Commissioners heard from the sheriff's office, social services, land and resources, and talked finances. There was, however, a portion that didn't quite fit into the agenda. Now, people of Alexandria and the Alexandria Lakes area, there is nothing more false than that. I have been receiving for a number of months from the county administrative office a press packet for Inform TV, because I went to their meeting a number of months ago, probably at least 6 months ago, and asked if I could put film and put the county commissioner meetings on my website or in community TV here in the Alexandria area. And I had a number of people stop me in Eldon's grocery store or Target or Walmart and said, "Hey, Repke, that's a good idea. We need to hold those people accountable." But they didn't get back to me. I kept getting the press packets, and I did go back and filmed a county meeting when they foolishly failed to buy a truck and keep a good rotation with equipment, and county workers were very happy about that, and I'm not against anybody getting a good wage. I'm just wondering why some of the industry people and the workers in this area don't do it like our county workers are doing, negotiate a fair compensation for their work in a high-cost environment we all live in today. But unfortunately, this forum communication paper called the Echo Press, I was there not to interrupt the meeting. I was there to once again say I'm soon going to have my own channel on selective TV and maybe even some cable outlets where I can put programming on 24/7. I decided I want to put that on. So I went there and I introduced myself as Inform TV, which they didn't mention, of course. Here's what went on. I'll read this and then we'll listen to some of the tape. Chairman Jerry Johnson went in mid-sentence announcing a closed session when all of a sudden a man appeared before the commissioners banishing a video camera. I'm a TV person. Shouldn't I be carrying a camera? Alan Repke, doesn't say anything about Inform TV. Alan Repke had a few questions for the commissioners and pointedly at County Coordinator Bill, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He doesn't know how to pronounce mine, so he's a county administrator. Main concerns were closed session talks and the lack of video coverage of the commissioner meeting. No, it wasn't a lack of coverage. I was going there to say I want to do it, and I asked if they would help me in the process. Then it goes on to say, last fall, the Echo Press made mention of Repke's attempt to record the commissioner meeting dealing. Repke has attended and recorded a meeting since that issue went to print, which that part is true. But I went there with the understanding of getting this out to the people to see their government. Now they went on in that article say, now signs are posted outside the commissioner's room in the courthouse prohibiting video recording equipment within the chambers. And the administrator, Bill, consulted the Attorney General's office, which said the county is within its rights to prevent disruptive behavior during meetings. What does that do? It sends an incredible misleading message to people, you my audience, that says if you want me to dig in and look hard at the issues statewide, not just in the Alexandria area, I've got to have some advertisers. And what is that sending a message to advertisers in the community? Is that Mr. Repke is a very rude, disruptive person. I'm a tough person, but I go in, and if you listen to the full tape, which I had to have recreated so we could even hear it, even though the county has a tech person, and shouldn't we have a sheriff or an auditor handling these tapes? And that's why I bring it up on a statewide basis. You people up there in Brainerd or Marshall or Wilmer, when it comes to recording county board meetings, you should have your tech person there watching to see that equipment works. If you go to my website, you'll find out just incredible. I think they paid some ridiculous number, and I better not mention it until I actually get the number, to see that these meetings are recorded, but you can't hear them. I had to hire a radio jock to get them so they're even audible. And if you listen to the full tape, I was cordial and trying to see to a number of things. And the thing for my statewide audience, that if you listen to these full tapes, I find that the negotiations that I was asking about, there is tapes required by state law that after 2 years you can listen to the negotiation process. I requested them on April 10th with our county administrator and our county board, and I still haven't got the tapes. And that just irks me. And I'm going to also the tapes relating to negotiations 2 years ago. And I'm going to try to post them for Duluth, Rochester, Marshall, Wilmer, Brainerd, St. Cloud, so we can all hear what's going on with this incredibly powerful union. And before I run out of time, I want to bump a little bit on that tape to show you the people in Alexandria, the people that I work with, that I have a beer with if I stop at a bar for a burger, whether I'm at Fat Daddy's or the Corral or Eddie's, and that I'm not a bully or an interruptive person, or the people at my church. Listen to what I was following the agenda. I was maybe a few seconds late, but they were still talking, and they didn't follow the agenda, which was an open portion of the meeting where citizens could ask questions, and there was nobody there to do that, or a press person like myself. Listen to this for just a few minutes so you know the Echo Press, the Forum Communications paper, the paper and media of power were totally and completely wrong. I was acting like a good citizen, a good reporter, and a good Christian would.
Items from the floor.
Items from the floor.
You guys are very efficient. I thought it'd probably be 10:30 before you would get the things. Alan Repke, Inform TV. A couple things. I would like the county to work with me. I'll soon have my own channel on Selective TV, and I would like to start broadcasting the monthly county meeting here, and as well have it on my website so property owners, cabin owners around the state can see what is going on in county government in this area. And so I guess at the very minimum I would need some access to the microphone system. I came and taped a little bit here before, and had issues with sound, and but I think I can quite easily overcome that. And so because I want your point of view to be very clear. I mean, and I just want to see that citizens of Douglas County have access to their government and what's going on. The other thing, obviously, like I said, I thought you guys would not be so efficient, and so I'm here. I thought would be way early, but I'm actually late, and I apologize for that. Is the fact of labor negotiations. I saw that in the minute packet that I get from the county coordinator. What are you going to do with negotiations? Who are you negotiating with? And
well, that's my whole point to the people in my church, and to my people in my community, and you, my listeners, that I am a reasonable but tough person, that our forefathers envisioned people like me recording, being a part of the press, to see that you had facts in front of you, that we don't get a out-of-state newspaper controlling most of the papers in outstate Minnesota, making it a superpower and a super profit center, doing maybe a great job of covering human tragedies and natural events. But when it comes to putting the pressure on business and government to see that business monitors itself so government doesn't have to, and we have press that tell you what is really going on and doing some analysis of what is really happening, so you understand that we actually have the right, you folks down in the Buffalo area or the Lakeville area that are listening to this, we have a right to see what these unions that Governor Wilson in Wisconsin challenged, how much pressure are they putting on our elected officials? And the whole point of the press packet I have, even though, did I read it all here? Closed session, the paper went on to say, closed session negotiations are not open to the public per Minnesota statute. The Minnesota open meeting law states a meeting may be closed to discuss labor negotiations. I didn't deny that right of our county or state or school teachers or whatever. Repke was interested in an agenda item that indicated it was protected by Minnesota statutes and would involve discussing labor negotiation. After Repke made his case over the course of more than 20 minutes, the commissioners went in closed session. Upon return to the open meeting, Johnson stated that Repke will need to request to be added to the agenda if he wishes to bring future concerns before the board. In other words, the county board here in Douglas County, or possibly in your county, that's why I'm bringing it up on a statewide basis, want a heads up. Ooh, we've got the tough guy coming here, and he's going to ask us some questions that need to be answered so the general public hears. And that's what Inform TV is all about. We have a disastrous mess, financial mess on our hands, people, and there's no one more accountable to it than these media empires, both in our state, in our region, nationally, and even globally, that have let this garbage go on, that we have a little state, country called Greece. We don't have a Congress or a president that says, Greece, you're going to be held accountable. And we're going to, whether it takes pulling Coca-Cola out of Greece, banning any flights going into Greece, banning visas to go in there, to see that the little country of Greece gets their act together or takes the punishment they deserve, or Italy, or our own self, that we get our act together. And at the same time here, I want to address quickly the amendment on marriage. I think we've also had some bad press and some bad understanding, and hopefully you listeners that agree with me on the fact that yes, we should have a voter ID to have incredible integrity in the election process in Minnesota. There's groups out there, send them my way so I get some advertising, and as well as the churches or citizens that believe, as I believe, that marriage is between a man and a woman. And with that, I want to take a look, and I'll have this full tape, this Watergate tape that was suppressed here in Douglas County for all you people to take a look at. And understand that when you watch Informed TV, you're going to see what's going on in Douglas County. And like Tip O'Neill always said, if it's going on in Douglas County, it's going on in your county. And we'll dig into them all. And with that here, I want to bring up a political subject. This representative was talking. How many gays must God create before we accept that he wanted them? And our governor, I think, on the Capitol steps said, in relation to this amendment, aren't we better than this as far as not letting gays and lesbians marry? We're not better than the Bible, Governor. The Bible sets the guidelines for how we live as good citizens, because we put in God we trust on every dollar. And when it comes to gays and lesbians, this representative states how many to make. I would like to refer him to the Bible, and where God made man. And the Bible references that the man, he could see man was lonely. And God created the most beautiful creature on earth, woman, to be a loving companion, and where the two of them would be incredibly unique, where together as a man and a woman, they could be one through the birth of a child. And whenever we get politicians that believe that we don't need the Bible, we don't need to be people of faith, we just have to put on as good socialites that love is love, and as long as we say that we're in love, that anything can go. And yet, I believe in gay rights to be protected, not to be bullied. In fact, I belong to a church in South Minneapolis that had a chairman of the board, but I do not believe with my ELCA Lutheran Church that they belong in the pulpit, or they belong their message at our Bible camps. And I'm furious about what's going on from that standpoint. But I believe in fair rights for everyone as a Christian. But marriage is a sacred thing that God gave us, and it's in the Bible. And we as Minnesotans need to protect it, whether you're Republican, Democrat, or a fierce independent like myself that's despised by all. Get garbage like this in the local paper, so because the business community doesn't want me digging in their avenues either. And the truth of it is, Informed TV is about one thing, people, to see that you're informed on the issues and the propagandists are put in their place. Thanks for listening to Informed TV. I'm Alan Repke, Alexandria, Minnesota.